next? Was I just a mistake? Or a target? 2 exits down, I switched roads, changed direction, changed fate. But the fear stayed with me. Should I call the police? What could I say? No plate number, no description. Just a nightmare and a feeling. But sometimes a feeling is all you need. His face, the hand, the silence, the mirror, the look, it all played again and again and again. Now I plan every trip. I never stop to sleep. I never let my guard down because that night might have been my last. Now I plan every trip. You hear stories. People gone. No one sees it coming. Just one moment, one choice, one exit, and everything ends. My dogs saved me. They barked before I could scream. They saw what I didn't. They gave me a chance to live. They are my heroes. I don't know what he wanted, and I never will. But I do know this. Trust your instincts. Listen to your dogs, and never, ever fall asleep on the roadside, because not everyone walks away.
It was 5 years ago on Halloween night. The pandemic still had the world on pause. Stores shuttered, streets empty. Celebrations ... canceled. I sat in my apartment, restless, watching shadows move across the wall. Unsure if it was boredom or anxiety crawling under my skin, and then I did something impulsive. I messaged Leo. We hadn't talked in a while, not since things ended between us. Messy and unfinished, but we'd once shared everything, including a strange love for horror stories and Lovecraft. Want to go for a walk tonight? I asked. I needed air. I needed something real. He replied almost instantly, sure. We agreed to meet at 9:30 under the old church. Halfway between our places. It was cold. Halloween night cold. The kind of cold that makes the air feel thinner. Quieter. I got there first. The street was too quiet, even for a pandemic night. Street lamps flickered. Pumpkins rotted on porches. The air was still. Then I saw him. Leo. Same heavy coat. Same tired eyes. We nodded instead of hugging. There was history there, unspoken. Unfinished. Hey, I said. Hey, he replied, and just like that, we started walking. We headed toward the old part of town. It used to be lively, tourists, music, chatter spilling out of bars, but not that night. Not in 2020. The streets were nearly dead. We passed by shuttered cafes, silent inns, souvenir shops gathering dust. It felt like a forgotten movie set, only the sound of our footsteps and the occasional wind between buildings. It was eerie. Perfect, in a way, for 2 horror nerds out for a Halloween stroll. This feels like Silent Hill, I joked. Leo laughed, but there was tension in it. We stopped at the castle. It rose up in front of us, dark and ancient, like something from a gothic novel. We had 2 choices. We could turn back through the town, or take the narrow boardwalk by the cliff's edge that led into the trees. And eventually, the park. The second path was isolated, creepy, almost completely unlit. Should we keep going? I asked. Why not? Leo shrugged. So we walked into the dark. 1. The path narrowed. Calm, slow pace. Built suspense. 2. The trees grew taller. Slightly slower, emphasizing taller. 3. Their branches clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. Pause before, like skeletal fingers. To add creepiness. 4. We could hear the water below, crashing against rocks we couldn't see. Softer tone on crashing and we couldn't see. Convey mystery. 5. I started making jokes. Slightly upbeat. A shift in emotion. 6. Talking about horror movies, slasher tropes, cursed forests. List items slowly with short pauses, slightly sarcastic or nervously joking. Tone. 7. It was my way. of pushing back the fear. Slow down on pushing back the fear. Let it sink in point 8. Leo smiled, but didn't say much. Slightly eerie. Quiet emphasis on didn't say much. 9. He was listening, or maybe that. I stepped into the light and spun around dramatically. This is it, I declared. Scene of the slasher film. 2 exes alone in the woods on Halloween. Only one makes it out. We laughed, but my voice sounded hollow in the trees. I swear, just for a second, I thought I saw something behind him, but when I looked again, nothing. It was 5 years ago on Halloween night. The pandemic still had the world on pause. Stores shuttered, streets empty. Celebrations canceled. I sat in my apartment, restless, watching shadows move across the wall. Unsure if it was boredom or anxiety crawling under my skin, and then I did something impulsive. I messaged Leo. We hadn't talked in a while, not since things ended between us. Messy and unfinished, but we'd once shared everything, including a strange love for horror stories and Lovecraft. Want to go for a walk tonight? I asked. I needed air. I needed something real. He replied almost instantly, sure. We agreed to meet at 9:30 under the old church, halfway between our places. It was cold. Halloween night cold. The kind of cold that makes the air feel thinner. Quieter. I got there first. The street was too quiet, even for a pandemic night. Street lamps flickered. Pumpkins rotted on porches. The air was still. Then I saw him. Leo. Same heavy coat. Same tired eyes. We nodded instead of hugging. There was history there. Unspoken. Unfinished. Hey, I said. Hey, he replied, and just like that, we started walking. We headed toward the old part of town. It used to be lively, tourists, music, chatter spilling out of bars, but not that night. Not in 2020. The streets were nearly dead. We passed by shuttered cafes, silent inns, souvenir shops, gathering dust. It felt like a forgotten movie set, only the sound of our footsteps and the occasional wind between buildings. It was eerie. Perfect, in a way, for 2 horror nerds out for a Halloween stroll. This feels like Silent Hill, I joked. Leo laughed, but there was tension in it. We stopped at the castle. It rose up in front of us, dark and ancient, like something from a gothic novel. We had 2 choices. We could turn back through the town, or take the narrow boardwalk by the cliff's edge that led into the trees, and eventually the park. The second path was isolated, creepy, almost completely unlit. Should we keep going? I asked. Why not? Leo shrugged. So we walked into the dark. 1. The path narrowed. Calm, slow pace. Built suspense. 2. The trees grew taller. Slightly slower, emphasizing taller. Point 3. Their branches clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. Pause before, like skeletal fingers. To add creepiness. 4. We could hear the water below, crashing against rocks we couldn't see. Softer tone on crashing and we couldn't see. Convey mystery. 5. I started making jokes. Slightly upbeat. A shift in emotion. 6. Talking about horror movies, slasher tropes, cursed forests. List items slowly with short pauses, slightly sarcastic or nervously joking. Tone. 7. It was my way of pushing back the fear. Slow down on pushing back the fear. Let it sink in point 8. Leo smiled, but didn't say much. Slightly eerie. Quiet emphasis on didn't say much. 9. He was listening, or maybe sensing something. Pause after maybe for suspense. 10. Behind us. The woods were still slow, ominous, emphasized still. 11. But even then, something felt off. soft, with a final unsettling tone. We reached a broken lamppost flickering like something from a horror set. I stepped into the light and spun around dramatically. "This is it," I declared. Scene of the slasher film. 2 exes alone in the woods on Halloween. Only one makes it out. We laughed, but my voice sounded hollow in the trees. I swear, just for a second, I thought I saw something behind him, but when I looked again, nothing. I told myself it was a shadow, a branch, anything. But I felt it, the fear, the kind that doesn't leave. The path opened into the park. Just trees, fog, and flickering lights. Even the playground was empty. Swings creaking in the wind. We didn't talk much then. The earlier jokes had faded. Maybe we both felt it. That eerie tension dot like the night itself was watching us dot. We looped back slowly, circling toward where we started. Neither of us wanted to say it, but something felt wrong. When we got back near the entrance to Old Town, we saw them, flashing lights, police cars, ambulances. Officers were running everywhere, but the air felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. A few people stood nearby, confused, whispering. We asked someone what was going on. He turned to us, his face pale, his eyes wide with fear. "Someone's roaming around with a knife," he said, "scaring people." I let out a nervous laugh. "Probably just some drunk guy," I muttered, but deep down, I knew the truth it was. Something more. Something worse. "You two should head home, lock your doors." His voice wasn't dramatic, it was dead serious. Leo and I exchanged a look. No more jokes. No more pretending it was just a horror movie. This was real. I walked him to his building. We barely said a word. Then I turned and walked home alone. This time, I walked faster. I walked quickly, eyes forward, but kept checking behind me. Even though I saw no one, the streets were too quiet. Even for a pandemic Halloween. Then, my phone buzzed. Alerts, messages, notifications. I didn't look, not yet. I just wanted to be inside. Finally, I reached my door, locked it, double-checked it. Only then did I sit down and begin to read. The first post I saw had a photo blurry, distant, but unmistakable. Police tape, blood, people lying on the ground. Then I saw the words, "Medieval dressed man with a sword attacks random pedestrians. 2 dead, 5 injured." My hands started to shake. I scrolled faster, reading updates from people I knew. The attack happened near the castle, just after 10:30 p.m. That was right behind us. Only then did I sit down and begin to read. I pulled up the timeline. The first attack happened just after 10:30 p.m. near the castle steps. We had passed that spot maybe 10 minutes before. If we had turned back, instead of taking the cliffside path, we would have walked right into him. The killer, a man dressed like a knight, wielding a katana-style sword. He wasn't acting. He wasn't joking. He was out to kill, and we had missed him by just minutes. They called him the Sword Killer, dressed in medieval robes, long hair tied back, armed with a katana. He walked through the old town with purpose, with silence. His first victim, never saw it coming. Then another, and another. 5 people, seriously wounded, 2 dead. By the time police caught up, he didn't know them, didn't care who they were, just anyone. At random. I kept playing it back, over and over, in my head. If we had taken the other path, if we turned back toward the castle, we would have met him, we would have crossed paths. At exactly the wrong moment, we might have been. Next, it's surreal how one small choice changed everything. A few days later, I found out someone I knew had been there. My friend, he took the other path. The one we DID in, single quotes T. He was attacked, left for dead. In the middle of the street, he lost a finger. Almost lost his life. He survived, but just barely, and all I could think was, it could have been us. It's been 5 years. Sometimes it feels like a bad dream. Other times, like it happened yesterday. The city moved on. Halloween came back, kids in costumes, laughing in the streets again. But me, I haven't forgotten. I still walk that route sometimes, past the church, past the castle, along the cliffside boardwalk. It's quiet now, peaceful even, but under it all, I still feel it, the shadow of what might have been. We all make choices, tiny ones, choices that seem meaningless. In the moment, left or right, go or stay, speak or stay silent. That night, we turned left. That's it. No woman, no warning. Just instinct or impulse, but that one turn was the difference between a quiet night walk and maybe not coming home at all. Sometimes I still see it in my mind, the castle behind us, the cliffside below, and two figures walking away, laughing, unaware that we were just two people trying to reconnect. On Halloween, but behind us, death was already moving. Wasn't brave, I wasn't smart, I was just lucky, and now I carry that night with me, not as a horror story, but as a reminder, life is fragile, terrifying, beautiful.
A woman sits alone in a dark room, lit only by the blue glow of her laptop. Boxes of police reports, crime scene photos, and newspaper clippings surround her. This isn't a story about how he was caught. It's a story about how she never let him go. 1976, Sacramento. He came like fog, silent, cruel. He tied up husbands, whispered threats. Then he vanished into the night. No name, no face, just a ski mask and fear. He started as the East Area rapist, but he evolved, more violent, more precise. They began to call him something else. The original Night Stalker. Decades later, Michelle sat stunned. The crimes were too similar. Different towns, different years, same monster. She gave him a name that would stick. The Golden State Killer. She wasn't a cop, but she was a hunter. Her insomnia became a weapon. Her marriage strained, but she chased him anyway. Into every shadow, every case file, she followed him through dusty attics and decades-old evidence. She called him a specter with a screwdriver. She chased a man who vanished, but whose breath still fogged the mirrors of terrified survivors. Years after Michelle's sudden death in 2016, the trail she lit was still burning. DNA, genealogy, science found the ghost she named, Joseph James D'Angelo. April 2018. The door creaked open. He stood in the kitchen, old and unsuspecting, the face behind the mask, ordinary. The monster, finally real. She wasn't there to see him fall, but her words were. Her book, her voice, her obsession. Michelle cracked open the dark, and it swallowed him. In every survivor's tear, in every silent neighborhood street, in every writer chasing truth, Michelle's legacy echoes. He's in a cage, and I'm free.
I grew up in a funeral home, our family business. While other kids played in backyards, I organized prayer cards and helped my dad catalog caskets. Death wasn't scary. It was just part of life. Then the call came. I was 15. A woman and her baby, murdered in cold blood. Few clues, massive headlines. My parents looked scared, and they never looked scared. The viewing was suffocating. The mother was holding the baby in her arms inside the casket. The room was filled with sobs and silence, and the husband stood like a statue, devastated. I had a task: collect the flower cards, ask the husband if he recognized the names, photocopy them, return them. I was just the funeral director's kid, unobtrusive, invisible. He and I spoke often. He seemed shattered, gentle, grateful even. He thanked me for helping, said I reminded him of his daughter. It made my stomach twist later. Then the twist no one expected. A witness came forward, 3 years old. She saw someone leaving the house. She recognized him. It was the husband's best friend. The truth unspooled like rotten film. The friend and the husband had made a pact to murder each other's families, start new lives with their secretaries. The friend cracked under pressure, confessed it all. On the testimony of a child, justice was served. That man stood beside me, joked with me, held back fake tears while people mourned his victims. I had no clue who he truly was. After that, I never looked at life the same way again. Evil doesn't wear a mask, it smiles, and sometimes even thanks you for your help.
True story time. I was about 4 or 5 years old. My parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our rooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. It was the middle of the summer. The apartment was on the first floor. That night, the window behind my mom's bed was open, letting in the warm night air. Liabilities Trace Emite. Pause dash secutive 1.0 came up in the middle of the night. I remember sitting up and seeing our cat. He was sitting in the doorway of my mom's room. That was strange. He always slept with us. I kept watching as he got up and walked into my bedroom. Then he meowed. Not a playful meow. Not a hungry one. It sounded like a warning. When I turned to face my mom, nudging her gently, "Mom, wake up. The cat's in my room." She stirred, half asleep, groggy. "What, baby?" Then she sat up. We both looked toward the hallway. "It's Amint's," and that's when we saw him, a man, standing at the doorway of my room, silent, still, a dark shape in the night. He turned and calmly walked down the hall. My mom didn't hesitate. She grabbed me, ran to the window, and threw me out of it. It was just a 3-foot drop to the grass, but in that moment, it felt like escaping a burning building. Seconds later, she jumped out after me. We started screaming for help. Someone called 911. People came outside. Lights flicked on. Maybe the police arrived. They searched the apartment. No signs of forced entry, just an unlocked front door. My mom swore she had locked it that night. The deadbolt, the chain. She always did. The officers said maybe the man was already inside. You said the only man of the tooth remained for? Wrong. Me, pause. You said the used to. A lecture moved any pow. A week later, while cleaning the kitchen, my mom opened the water heater closet and found something. A notebook, some gloves, gum wrappers. Inside the notebook were names, drawings, crude maps, doodles, eyes, faces. It looked like he had been watching us. Amita. Any picture. Barrier came again, but there wasn't much they could do. No prints, no ID, no way to trace him, just fear and questions. And offering the mains sang, and he had my mom never slept quite the same again. Neither did I. And the cat? He never left her side after that night. One don't know who he was or what he wanted, but I do know this. Sometimes your gut knows before a cat can be a hero. And sometimes a 3-foot drop can save your life. Fade in, night. Runway at small airport, rain patters softly. Registers tower, this is Flight 107, ready for departure, weather's clear enough. Flight 107, cleared for takeoff, safe flight. Interior cockpit, mid-flight. Radar screen hums. Captain, I'm reading some strange echoes on the radar, flickers west of our path. Probably atmospheric. Keep an eye, report if it grows. Flight 107, give us your altitude and a heading. Above cloud layer, wind howls. Trailed off course, instruments glitching. Which to backup nav, we've lost GPS. Flight 107, respond, you're off radar. Interior cabin, passengers murmur, air rattle. Ladies and gentlemen, remain calm, crew is attending. Engine 2 spooling down, we're losing power. Exterior open ocean night, radio silence. Mayday, mayday, this is Flight 107, engine failure, ditching off the coast. Brace, brace! Exterior night ocean, waves crash, flickering lights, lights, search and rescue. Flight 107, this is Rescue 12, hang in there, rescue teams are en route, you're not alone. Interior hospital, morning. Beeping machines, footsteps. Doubtful. Did we survive? Yes, we're both alive. Flight 107's crew and passengers lived. Investigation later revealed a rare microburst, a sudden, violent downdraft that knocked out both engines. Their quick thinking and a skillful, controlled descent saved them. A miracle born from training, courage, and human resilience. Fade out. Soft piano music. True bravery doesn't wait for applause. It rises in the darkest moments. This is the story of Flight 107.
There is a strange kind of stillness that comes with working the night shift. Something about the way time feels heavier, thicker, like the darkness isn't just outside, but pressing in from all directions. I've worked the graveyard shift at gas stations for years. Different cities, different faces, different kinds of danger. But the quiet ones, the ones that seem like nothing's happening, those are the nights you have to watch for. I'm not a big person, neither is my shift partner. We split the week between us. Over time, our regular customers started noticing. They'd give us little warnings, tell us to be careful. One guy even started parking his car outside after work just to keep watch while eating his sandwich. But one man stood out. He wasn't friendly, didn't say hello, didn't nod, didn't even really make eye contact. Every morning, like clockwork, he'd come in for a pack of cigarettes. That was it. There was something quiet and heavy about him, like he carried too many memories that didn't belong here. He never smiled, and me being me, I made it my personal mission to change that. I started small, a little small talk here, a stay safe there. Nothing worked, until one morning I tried something new. I had his cigarettes on the counter, already scanned and bagged before he walked in. He stopped, looked at them, then looked at me, and something flickered in his eyes. He smiled. Then, for the first time ever, he spoke. "You work here alone? You small girl, you not scared? Night shift is not safe." I told him the usual. We could lock the doors if needed. The police station was nearby. Officers came in often. We had a system. He nodded slowly, then leaned in slightly. "Let me tell you something." He told me that long ago, back when he first came to this country with his wife and little baby,
He worked the night shift, too, at a gas station, quiet place. One night, he was exhausted, couldn't keep his eyes open, so he laid his head down behind the counter, just for a moment. "When I wake up," he said. "Someone's following me." He nodded, locked the door, called the cops. When the officers arrived, they found him, 2 blocks down, still walking, still watching. They questioned him. He had no ID, no clear reason for being in the area. He never said a word. And then they let him go, because he hadn't done anything, not technically, but he had. He'd made me afraid to walk home, to trust strangers, to feel safe in daylight. It's been years now, but I still remember the color of his cap, the way he stared without blinking, and the lesson I learned that day. Sometimes danger doesn't shout. It walks quietly, just a few steps behind you. And many a January then 2 minute ain't it. I was 16, it was summer, the kind of day where the air hums with heat and possibilities. I had just gotten off the bus coming back from a friend's place. It was early evening, sun still out, but the streets were quieter. Most people were inside, escaping the heat. As I walked down my street, I noticed him. A man, maybe mid-30s, blue baseball cap, clean shirt. He looked ordinary, too ordinary. But here's the thing. I'd never seen him on our street before, and in our neighborhood, you know everyone, especially on our block. At first, I didn't think much of it. People pass through all the time. But something was off. Every time I glanced back, he was still there, same distance, same pace, not in a hurry, not slowing down, just walking. With me, I tested it, slowed down, stopped to tie my shoe, so did he. He didn't even pretend to be on his phone or look at the sky. He just stood there, still watching. That's when the fear kicked in. I started walking faster, heart thudding in my ears. I could hear his footsteps too, still following. The houses on this side of the street had high fences. No one was outside. My phone was at 4%, no one to call, no time to think. I remembered something my dad told me once. If you ever feel like someone's following you, don't go home. Don't let them know where you live. So I turned, sharp left, a block away from my street. So did he. That's when I ran. Full sprint, my bag hitting my side, shoes slapping the pavement. I didn't dare look back. 2 blocks, then 3. I ran into a small gas station and ducked behind the counter, panting, eyes wide. The clerk looked alarmed. I just whispered, "Someone's following me." He nodded, locked the door, called the cops. When the officers arrived, they found him, 2 blocks down, still walking, still watching. They questioned him. He had no ID, no clear reason for being in the area. He never said a word. And then they let him go, because he hadn't done anything, not technically, but he had. He'd made me afraid to walk home, to trust strangers, to feel safe in daylight. It's been years now, but I still remember the color of his cap, the way he stared without blinking, and the lesson I learned that day. Sometimes danger doesn't shout. It walks quietly, just a few steps behind you.
It was a typical day. The sun was warm, the air crisp, and my mom, my sister, and I were at the park. I was just 6 years old, full of wonder, blissfully unaware of the world beyond my small bubble. We were laughing, playing, enjoying the simple, innocent pleasures of childhood. I remember climbing the slide, And at the very top, I hesitated. I was unsure of my footing, my heart racing. That's when he appeared. The man. He was kind, gentle even. He helped me, steadying me when I didn't quite stick the landing. A warm smile, a reassuring hand. My mom noticed, thought he was just being polite, a good Samaritan. I thought so too. It didn't feel wrong, not at first. But then, my sister ran off to join Mom. I was alone. And that's when I saw it. The way he looked at me. His gaze lingered a little too long. He began walking around the play area, away from the view of the parents, near the pond behind the slides. A strange, quiet unease started to crawl under my skin. I was curious. I followed. He crouched near the pond, just out of sight. I don't remember everything he said, but I remember enough. He told me I was pretty and that I was very mature for my age. My gut twisted. He was too calm, too friendly. And then he asked me if I was here with anyone. If I was with my sister, I think. What the fuck do you think you're doing? I saw my mom. She was different. Her face was a mask of terror. I had never seen her like that. It was as if time froze. Her eyes were wide, her hand shaking as she ran toward me. I started crying. I couldn't stop. My mom never yelled, not like that. And I didn't understand. I was just so scared. But I didn't know why. Why was she yelling? Why was she so mad? I think it took me years to fully understand what happened. What could have happened. The stranger danger talks came after, but it was hard to believe, hard to accept. He was so nice, wasn't he?
I remember that day like it was yesterday. My little boy was only 4. So small, so innocent. It was just another afternoon. Warm sunlight, kids' laughter echoing in the neighborhood. My son playing outside with his siblings and our neighbors' children. But then, the laughter faded, because suddenly, he was gone. We called his name again and again. Panic set in, that creeping, suffocating fear only a mother knows. He was nowhere, nowhere. Someone had taken my baby. But he wasn't hurt. A woman had found him, or maybe taken him. She lived in a nearby neighborhood. Nobody knew her well, just whispers of a tragedy. Her husband had left. Their only child, a boy, had died. She couldn't bear the silence in her house, the loneliness, the grief. So when she saw my little boy, she saw him, her son, and in her broken heart, maybe she believed, for just a moment, he had come back. She fed him, gave him sweets, put him in her son's old pajamas. For 2 whole days, she cared for him like a mother trying to relive something she lost forever. And then, she took him to a store to buy more candy. The shopkeeper recognized her and called the police. They found him, safe, not a scratch. The doctor even said he was well fed. I should have been angry, but all I felt was sadness. This woman wasn't evil. She was broken, alone, desperate to hold her son again, even if just in a dream. Years later, my son, now in college, told me something. He said, "I think of her sometimes. I pray she's okay. I even tried to visit her once. But she was gone. Her house had been sold. I will never forget the fear I felt. But I will also never forget her. A woman whose heart shattered in silence and for a brief moment tried to feel whole again."
Calm to suspenseful to warm, uplifting.
I wouldn't call it scary exactly, more like creepy.
My mom's friend lived alone. A quiet house, simple life. Then, strange things started happening. A pot of soup, gone faster than she remembered. A few missing eggs, towels damp when she hadn't used them. Extra dishes in the dishwasher. Little things. She thought, maybe I'm just forgetting. Too busy, too stressed. Right? But this went on 4 months. Then one day, she heard it. Thumping. From the attic. She went up. Cautiously. Slowly. Heart pounding. And what she found chilled her. A makeshift living space. A sleeping bag, pillow, a hot plate, food wrappers, even a small radio. Someone had been living up there. She called the police. They waited, watched the house. Then they saw him. A man climbing a tree, trying to sneak into her attic window. He'd been doing this almost daily. He'd wait until she went to work, then sneak down, eat her food, use her things, live like a ghost in someone else's home. And here's the part no one expects. He wasn't violent, wasn't evil, just homeless, quiet, respectful, and down on his luck. She didn't press charges. Instead, she got to know him, helped him, gave him a place to stay, helped him find a job, let him live in the attic, officially, until he was back on his feet. What started as a creepy nightmare became an unlikely story of kindness. Not every strange tale ends badly. Some end with a little hope.
There are stories that leave scars. Moments in history so dark, they whisper through time, like shadows we wish we could unsee. But we must see them, because ignoring them means forgetting those who suffered. Tonight, we speak the unspeakable. Junko Furuta, a bright, ordinary schoolgirl in Japan. One day, she vanished, snatched from the street by monsters, for no reason at all. What followed was 44 days of unthinkable pain. Rape, torture, humiliation. She screamed. She begged. But the world didn't hear her in time. Kiki Camarena, a DEA agent on the front lines of the drug war in Mexico, captured by the infamous Guadalajara cartel. For 3 days they broke his body, and when he came close to death, they brought in a doctor, not to save him, to revive him, to keep the torture going. His story was told in Narcos, Mexico, but the truth was worse than fiction. Kellyanne Bates, groomed as a child, killed slowly by a man who called himself her boyfriend. Her final days were so horrifying, the jury at his trial had to seek therapy. Her eyes were missing, stab wounds, in the sockets. Sylvia Likens, left by her parents in the care of a woman who became her executioner. But she didn't die alone. The woman's children and their friends joined in. Months of torment. Until Sylvia's body gave up. Then came the Hello Kitty murder. Hong Kong, a woman, tortured for days. all over a debt she had already paid. In the end, her remains were stuffed into a Hello Kitty doll. Innocence turned grotesque. Baby Brianna, barely days old. Her mother, father, and uncle did the unthinkable. From the hospital to the grave, she never knew kindness. Baby P, a British toddler who trusted his mother. But her boyfriend was a sadist. His spine was broken, his cries ignored. Each of these souls suffered in silence, and each one a name we must never forget. Because behind every headline is a voice that never got to finish its story. And here on Real Speak, we will speak for them.
Hi, and welcome to Real Speak, where true stories are told like never before. Every week, we bring you powerful real-life stories, the ones that move you, surprise you, and sometimes, even change you.
And the best part? Each story is narrated by a different character, giving you new voices, new emotions, and new experiences every time. If you love raw, honest, and unforgettable stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And hit the bell icon so you're the first to know when a new video drops.
Make sure to watch each video till the very end. Every detail matters in a true story. Thank you for being here. This is Real Speak, where real stories speak for themselves.
The Arizona sun was already unforgiving by 9 a.m. when Dean Carter, a 34-year-old mechanic with grease on his fingers and bags under his eyes, rolled up the garage shutters of Carter Auto & Sons. The son's part was wishful thinking, was single, childless, and barely making rent after inheriting the once thriving shop from his late father. The place was humble, faded signage, patched-up floor, and an ancient coffee machine that sputtered like a dying lawnmower. But Dean kept it running. Not because it was profitable, but because it was his legacy. People respected Dean for his honesty, even if most customers had turned to flashier shops downtown. One thing he never expected, though, was that a flat tire outside his garage that morning would change his life forever. The growl of a Ducati Panigale broke through the sleepy hum of the town as a sleek black bike pulled up to his lot. The rider, leather-jacketed woman, with her face hidden under a dark visor, slid off the seat with effortless grace. Something about her posture was unusual, precise. "Tire blew out a mile back," she said, lifting her helmet. Dean blinked. She was stunning. Not in the Hollywood sense, more in a clean, effortless way. Confident.com. But her eyes, deep hazel, sharp like a hawk, made him pause. "You're lucky you didn't skid out," Dean said, checking the damage. "You ride like that often?" She smirked. "Often enough to know I shouldn't have trusted my assistant to prep it." Assistant? Dean raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Dean rolled the bike into the shop and began working. She followed him inside, observing. "You don't ask for names," she teased. "Only ask when people want to be known," he replied. That answer caught her off guard. Her real name was Bianca Rose Vale, the secret billionaire heiress of Vale Dynamics, a tech and motors empire built by her father. But today, she was just a nickname her bodyguard used. She had gone incognito after canceling her third arranged engagement in as many years. Every man she met either wanted her wealth, her status, or her connections. Never her. B had grown tired of boardrooms and brunches. She wanted to meet someone real. Today, she might have found him. Inside the garage, Dean popped open a soda and offered her one. "You from around here?" he asked. "Just passing through," she replied, looking for something simpler. Dean smiled. "You and everyone else trying to escape the noise." She watched him work. There was grace in the way he handled tools, patient, focused, respectful. She noticed a photo on the counter, an old man beside a much younger Dean. both grinning beside a rebuilt '68 Mustang. Your father? She asked. Yeah, he taught me how to fix engines. And people? She tilted her head. You fix people? He chuckled. Only the ones willing to be still long enough to listen. Something in his tone reminded her of her grandfather. Before business stripped the kindness from their world. The tire repair was simple. What kept her lingering was Dean himself. B saw how he spoke, with intention, ever rushed, never hollow. He didn't Google her last name, didn't ask for her number, didn't even flirt. He just was. For the first time in years, she felt anonymous and safe. As he finished tightening the bolts, he glanced at her riding gloves. These are hand-stitched Italian. You sure you're just passing through? She paused, caught. Let's say I have more money than time. Dean nodded, still not prying. She respected that. Well, you're good to go, he said, but I'd swap out the rear tire before your next high-speed joyride. Thanks, she smiled. What do I owe you? It's on the house. Dean shrugged. You didn't crash? That's payment enough. B stood silent, surprised. People didn't usually turn down her money. She pulled out her wallet anyway. Take it, or at least let me treat you to lunch. Dean hesitated, then finally gave a sheepish smile. All right, I won't say no to a cheeseburger. As they walked to the diner 2 blocks down, B asked more about his life, why he stayed in a dying garage, why he never left. Dean's answer was simple. I don't chase big dreams. I fix what's broken right in front of me. She almost laughed. She'd spent years running billion-dollar ventures, and here was a man whose biggest concern was whether the school bus mechanic used the right brake pads. And yet this was the first real conversation she'd had in months. At the diner, over coffee and fries, she watched how Dean treated the waitress by name. With kindness, even tipping generously from his thin wallet. You're full of surprises, she said. Nah, he replied. I just treat people the way I wish someone had treated my dad when he got sick. That hit her deep. She too had lost someone and knew how loneliness could linger like fog in the chest. But before she could speak, her assistant called. She silenced the phone. She didn't want the real world crashing in just yet. Now, she wanted to live in Dean's world, a world of trust, tools, and truth. She didn't know it yet, but this stranger would soon challenge everything she thought she knew about love, identity, and second chances. As they walked back, Dean helped her mount the bike and gave a soft, respectful nod. Ride safe. She hesitated, then blurted, I'll be back tomorrow, if that's okay. Dean looked up, surprised but calm. I'll be here. B rode off, heart pounding. For the first time in years, someone had seen her not as an heiress or a target, but just as a person, and she wasn't ready to let that go. Not yet. Jack watched the mystery biker limp toward his workshop again the next morning, her helmet still under her arm and leather jacket smudged with dust from the roadside. He hadn't expected her to come back, not after he'd fixed her chain and refused payment, but here she was. Bike giving you trouble again? He asked with a smirk. She shook her head. Actually, I was hoping to grab coffee with the guy who saved my ride, she said. Her smile was confident but soft. Jack hesitated, unsure what this was. He rarely interacted with people outside the shop, but something about her felt genuine and, like most tourists who breezed through town. Sure, he finally said, wiping his hands on his rag. Let me close up early. They walked to a local diner, where townsfolk whispered and stared, surprised to see Jack with anyone, especially a woman who looked like she'd just stepped out of a magazine. As they sipped coffee, Jack learned her name was Leah. She didn't say much about her background, only that she'd been riding cross-country looking for something real. Jack chuckled. You sure came to the wrong town then. Ain't much real here but rust and regrets. Leah leaned forward. Maybe that's what I need. Real people, real stories. Not flashy buildings and fake smiles. Jack nodded slowly, beginning to feel a connection. His guard, usually made of iron, started to lower. He told her about his father's garage, how he inherited it young after his dad's heart attack. Life hadn't been easy. The recession had left his family bankrupt and he'd given up on college. But I love fixing things, he said. I just can't fix my life. Leah smiled thoughtfully. Maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's just waiting for the right part to arrive. Jack blinked, unsure what she meant. Over the next few days, Leah kept showing up. Sometimes pretending her bike had issues. Sometimes just bringing lunch and sitting by the open garage. Jack's younger sister, Megan, noticed too. Since when do mysterious biker girls eat sandwiches with you? She teased. Jack shrugged. She's different. He found himself opening up to Leah about the debt, the loneliness, his mom working 2 jobs just to help with bills. Leah listened like no one ever had. But even as she laughed and smiled, Jack could sense something behind her, a sadness she didn't speak of. One afternoon, she touched the dented fender of an old Mustang in the corner. Why haven't you fixed this? Jack sighed. Can't afford the parts. Plus, it's just a dream car. Like some things in life. Leah ran her fingers over the metal. Maybe some dreams are worth fighting for. Then she asked, Do you believe in second chances? That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He found himself pacing the garage, replaying Leah's words. Something was changing inside him. She wasn't just another passerby. There was warmth in her presence, depth behind her questions. And then he realized he was falling for her. But how could a broke mechanic like him offer anything to a woman like her? Even if she dressed simple, there was grace in her posture, elegance in how she carried herself. Jack had a gut feeling she wasn't who she claimed to be, and yet, she never made him feel small. The next day, Jack walked out front to find Leah handing a small box to Megan. "What's that?" he asked. Leah blushed. "Just a little something for your sister's school fundraiser." Inside was a rare signed guitar Jack knew was worth thousands. "Where'd you get this?" he asked suspiciously. Leah looked away. "Just ... a friend's." Jack's suspicions deepened. He started Googling names. One night, curiosity overcame him, and he typed Leah plus billionaire heiress into a search bar. What popped up made his jaw drop. Leah Thomas, only daughter of tech mogul Charles Thomas, net worth $4.6 billion. Same dimples, same sharp, green eyes. The articles said she vanished 6 months ago, walked away from everything, escaped the corporate prison. One said, Jack felt his stomach churn. She lied. But why? That night, when Leah came by with 2 lattes and a hopeful smile, Jack confronted her. "You're her, aren't you?" Leah froze. She didn't deny it. "I was ... I am. But that's not who I wanted to be anymore." Jack looked betrayed. "So what was this? Just a game? Slumming with the poor mechanic?" Leah's eyes welled up. "No, Jack, I was trying to find someone who saw me, not the money." "You did." Jack turned away, furious and hurt. "You lied to me every day." Leah stepped closer. "I was scared. Everyone in my world wants something. My last boyfriend only dated me for access. I wanted to know what love felt like without the dollar signs." Jack was silent. His hands trembled with emotion. "So you chose me as your ... experiment?" "No," Leah said quietly. "I chose you because you helped